good with y'all, man?
All right,
Yo,
man. Nothing much, man. We got the rap legend in the house,
yes,
Young
sir.
Bleed.
Absolutely. Salute, gentlemen. What's happening?
Yes, sir. How you doing, man?
I'm pretty good, man. Exhausted slightly coming off this road for the weekend. I'm on this 200 city tour shit, man. So it's going
200?
down non-stop. Yeah, 100 in Louisiana alone, then we're doing 100 across the country.
That's
Sheesh. Boy,
crazy,
work. That's
man.
200.
Yeah,
Wow.
every
Crazy.
weekend. Yeah, so it's going down, man.
That's
Yeah,
what's up,
three,
bro.
4 city shit on the weekend. So yeah, it's beautiful.
Shout. That's got to be fun, though.
That's
Oh
live,
yeah,
man.
I can't complain, man. It's a beautiful thing. It's work, but you get your perks, man. Yeah,
For
it's still
sure.
like
Absolutely.
I've been
For
doing that
sure.
travel part of the country shit for a while, so beautiful scenery. You get to clear your head and all that kind of shit. Yeah, and then I
Yeah.
drive everywhere. I don't fly no more, man. I don't trust the planes and shit. But
Hell no.
yeah, getting to see the scenery and the greenery, man. It's beautiful.
I don't trust that shit either, man. I drive everywhere I go.
Yeah, the world too crazy right now, man. I flew for about 25 years, but when COVID came, I said that's it for me. Fuck
Yeah,
that shit.
yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. Shit ain't been safe since.
No, sir. Shit, no. Especially when you look at that shit that happened at Reagan International, man. The goddamn plane just was sitting in the air. He was waiting. The fuck is that? Yeah, what is that, man? Hell no.
Oh,
It,
Hell
no.
no, yeah. That's crazy,
mhm.
man.
That's crazy, man.
That ain't
Yeah,
flying nowhere.
Shoot,
nah,
man. Let's dive into it, man. Just speaking of you coming off of tour, which is amazing.
yeah,
Let's
yeah,
start
man.
from let's start from the pivotal moment. What was the first moment you realized music was your calling? Take us back to that moment, man.
Um, for me, it's birth. And when I say that, I tell this story on all the interviews when people ask. When I was in my mom was still inside my mother, I had an uncle that played African drums and a whole set and different things like that, African piano. But he would play that shit when my mother was pregnant, and she say, "While I was inside, I'd be going crazy, turning over and flipping her, and running her nuts." So by the time I come out, and then she read me Dr. Seuss while I was still inside. By the time I was born, between 8 months and a year old, I was able to read Dr. Seuss. So when they say RAP, rapping, is rapping rhythm and poetry. I grew just like that. I'm born 1974, so I grew right with hip hop, let alone infinite music genres that was just throughout the family, from gospel to the blues, so on and so forth. So by the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I could play a whole set. I went straight from my mother to my uncle, congos and bongos and the whole set. When I was a baby, that was my birthday gift, shit like that. So all my life has been that way. Yes,
Wow.
sir.
Damn, that's crazy.
Yeah, man. Hip hop, 1980, 82, 83, 83 for sure. I found my glitch as far as genre of music. But, I sung in the Southern Baptist Church. My grandmother was the president of the choir. So, in
Mhm.
so many ways, you know what I mean? My granddaddy was a blues guy. He played piano, had a harmonica partner, fish fries on Fridays. And his other son, rest in peace, my uncle, um, played piano as well and harmonica and different things. So, and everything else, my aunties and stuff like that, they could sing like doves and all that. So I was in a musical world. But for the family, I'm the one that incorporated it years later. Yeah,
Mm.
Ah, okay, all right. Damn.
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hey, bro, you sound like you been pushing since a
Man,
baby.
what? Cut from the
Only life I
cloth.
know, man. Yeah, only life I know, amongst other things, but it adds to the resume, man. Life give you some experiences to talk about. So by the
Yeah.
time I was able to write poetry at 82, 83, God was marking my life. You don't know what you're born for. Then one day you wake up and say, okay, everything's for a reason. So I was able to grab it in so many ways and start, being able to tell my life story in a rhythmic and poetical way, man. Yes, sir.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Right on, brother. Right
Right
on.
on,
Much
man.
much respect to you.
It's the
No, for
same,
sure.
much love. Yeah, man.
All right. Well, second question. Baton Rouge in the 90s had a unique energy. What
Right.
was this? What was the city's rap scene like back then, and how did it influence your style?
Okay. In the '90s, um, it was like, bless you. It was like it's two different worlds for me. You know what I mean? With that '70s, '80s evolution for us hip hop, it was like Beat Street and Juice. You know what I mean? Growing but in the southern way. But on the West Coast, it's like breaking, and you know what I mean, and breaking too, so on and so forth. So as hip hop was growing into the West Coast, and we going into the '90s and gangster rap, then imagine the South when the Ghetto Boys was born, when the DOC really, was connected to NWA. All that
Yep.
kind of came back home. So we had those two trees to pull from, but from a Southern perspective. So basically, I Compton's Most Wanted, you know what I mean? Tupac, Easy E, and WA, all of that was my listening pleasure going into them '90s. You know what I mean?
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. Okay,
That's
okay.
fine. Tell a lot. Yeah.
So,
Go
man,
ahead, my brother.
third question. So, a lot of people know you
Yeah.
from my balls and my word. But
Yes, sir.
what was your grind like before that album dropped? Like, tell us about those those early struggles as developing as an artist.
Uh, Being South Baton Rouge, bottom boy raised, ghetto to ghetto. That crack epidemic took place in the '80s as well as did in the ghetto around the country in that time. So that same hustle and bustle, you know what I mean? Pistol popping, dope selling, you know what I mean? Yeah. Killing and carjackers, man. So that same type of thing. Yeah, me coming from that hip hop world, trying to reach New York. And that's here again morphing into the '90s. It was a way of life. Dickies and t-shirts just as well down here. And a lot of Southern roots into what the West Coast will become in life. And from the gang language, from the Black Panthers, far as Louisiana, and Huey P. Newton being from Monroe, Louisiana. So our whole evolution is that. This is, the annals of America, or your feet to the ground when you're talking about the bottom of America before we cross the border and go into South America. So Mexico, like Pimp C was saying on records, if you was getting dope and all that in them time, you had to come through Texas, man. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain interstates. So I come up with that, that OG dope boy structure. You see what I'm saying? I went from a B boy, born a G boy, but into the D boy. You know what I mean? And having this hip hop dream to get out of all those type of conditions.
Right.
Food stamps before the EBT cards. You know what I'm saying? So that type of thing. My grandmother, man, she was a maid all her life. Shouts out to the Grant family, and what people in this area would know about Grant Chemical, one of the biggest chemical plants in Louisiana as a whole. So they family, my grandmother was a maid for those people in our family. They was good folks, you know what I mean, and all that, nothing but love, black and white alike. So seeing her and her struggles, and we coming up in them same similar struggles, it pushes church boy off the poach and put you in them streets early. And my
Yeah.
grandmother, get food and fruit off the food truck, and the fish man come through the neighborhood. So
You know
we
it.
grew, we come from shotgun houses and projects. So
Yeah.
and I had that like that hip hop life dream as well as a few other guys on my section. So if you could imagine that and knowing that, black hand side, ghetto to ghetto, hood to hood, with that, yeah, that was the one thing that was pivotal for me, to push me and reach at something. And here again, Louisiana, our slogan is "It's the dream state." You can dream forever, you can make a dream come true. So God bless the rest. You know what I mean? Yeah, that type of thing. Yeah,
No, no,
Man,
that's real. That's real shit right there.
that's
that's
awesome.
real.
That's some good shit to hear, man.
Yeah, yeah. Hood life gang, it's more down here. We got a gang section Shreveport and more after the '90s. You see the gang and all what these kids been growing to. But far as our gang culture, it'll start like in Shreveport and it'll trickle on down. That's northern Louisiana. Before we
Mm.
get to New Orleans and all that later on, you started to see Bloods and Crips alike morph into the state. But when you talk to them, they'll say, man, I'm from Cali. But really, my roots is Louisiana. We just went with we was migrate well to the East
Yeah.
Coast. So the more I travel, I get to meet a lot of important OGs, so on and so forth, and they give me the back roots of what was taking place in the '60s before our time, and so on and so forth. So that whole thing is one and the same, you know.
Yeah.
Man, that's some deep shit.
No, for real.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, we instead of gang banging in Baton Rouge, it's a little bit of that now, but we say hood bang. Well, from one side of the town, we know guys because the way they walk and talk, you know what I mean, the clothes they wear and different things, but
Right.
without the color red. So it always been that same sectional. When I was 4 years old, I ran with 4 into 5, an elementary school gang that my big cousin was a part of. So and from that, my shouts out to my big cousin OG Silk Slim. That was a part of the wrecking crew, one of the leaders of South Baton Rouge wrecking crew, all the way out to LA with the LA Rolling 30s. Shouts out to my man Kiki Loco out the 30s. So I grew into that. Tookie Williams being family. I didn't get to meet Took in life, but Took from New Orleans into California. So my mother kept me out of California and all that shit as a kid for different reasons. So
Yeah.
it took me to get that deal with P and them and turn 22 years old before I start going to Cali myself, just to avoid getting caught up in the street into the gang banging shit as a kid, man. So yeah, same evolution, my brother. Yes, sir.
Man, wow, man.
Mhm.
That's what's
Yeah.
up,
No,
man.
that's crazy.
Yeah,
Again,
we had a few things, man. The baby six pack, baby wrecking crew. So I was, always, gang culture with my family, big cousins, different family members, and whatever they was doing big, we did it baby side. You know what I mean? So yeah, to be continued.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wow.
yeah,
that's crazy. All
yeah,
right,
man.
that brings us to the number 4.
Number 4.
What's a memory from your time with No Limit or Priority Records that you've
Yep.
never shared before?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't think nobody ever asked me that. It's so many thoughts, man. Yeah, that got me going into my brain
Yeah.
shot right
Yeah.
there. Man, yeah, and I'm trying to be neat and discreet. Some things I don't, I
No,
never
I'm
talk
already
about.
knowing. We already
But
know it, man.
yeah. Oh man, I say this one for the record, man. This real exclusive right here. I
Right
remember
on.
going and meeting one of the guys out there. Well, I'm gonna say that I can't mention the connection. And when
Yeah.
I get out there, man, we looking at what's taking place, as far as hip hop and with Diddy and all that now. So I'm young, fresh in the game, learning who to roll with, who not to roll with. And one of the OGs in Cali told me, "Hey, Bleed, you good out here? Everything is straight. Just don't hang with the shiny suit dude, man." So that's one I never ever said. So I always been kind of, I don't know about that. This, I signed fresh 3 months after the death of Big, 6 months after the death of Pop. You see what I'm saying? And it's welcome to California. I didn't all the free weed, cookies, and everything else. I didn't smoke or drink at first for a while going to California, just getting used to the atmosphere. Then later on, I got comfortable in life, and my casa, Sue Casa, the brothers welcoming, from LA to the Bay, that
Yeah.
type of thing. But it took me a second to adjust to that because that's how I was given the game. So I was in that paranoia field of, don't deal with Puff Daddy, for what's taking place 30 years later. That's crazy. So that's one of the deepest ones that I could lay on the table with y'all brothers. You know what I mean? True life right
No.
there.
No. No, I
Yeah.
mean that's
That's
like, I mean, even just hearing that, look, I would say the cool thing is knowing musical artists, because I come from a performance arts background, and it's life experience helps with a
Yeah.
lot of style. So my next question for you is, I noticed that
Hmm.
your style blends street wisdom with
Yeah.
cinematic storytelling. So were there any movies, books, or outside influences that helped shape your approach to music?
Definitely one of my favorite movies of all times and soundtrack, and I had the honor and privilege of being able to sample and record a Curtis Mayfield song. You know what I mean? Love for the People on my own record on that the song with me and Daz and Max Minnelli and Jay Vaughn. It's called
Mm-hmm.
Hustler. But
Mm.
he cleared that for me before he passed away, and before I can get to Atlanta to meet the man, he passed. But we was talking, working it out between him and my manager. But Superfly being one of my favorite movies of all time, and basically kind of like the story of my life. I graduated from that street game into the rap game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But on the same black exploitation flick type of thing, my granddaddy, knew Rudy Ray Moore a little bit. Rudy Ray Moore used to come and put his movies out. I wanted to meet him, Dolomite, and I didn't get
Yeah.
to meet him. I got an uncle that was in Mandingo, and the education of Jane Pittman. He played a
Yeah.
slave, so all that type of thing.
Wow.
I give y'all this one. Let me give you this one. When I was born, I believe the Mandingo movie, some kind of way Burt Reynolds was connected to this. And I don't know if this lady is still alive to this day, but it was a lady that lived right next door to my grandma Goldie. Outside the shotgun house, she had a nice little white house inside the fence, but it was on our block. And when we kids, you think everything that's white skin is white. But she was an Italian lady, you know what I mean, named Miss
Yeah.
Mary. And
Mm.
Miss Mary, I was so light skinned when I was born. Some people thought I was a white kid or whatever. But saying it to say this, my mother, well, my grandmother, between my great grandmother, Mama Golden, and my mother, they wanted my mother to play a slave lady in one of those movies and live breastfeed me on the movie on the strength of Burt Reynolds. You see what I'm saying? So I always wanted to meet Burt
Yo.
Reynolds and tell him thank you. So I was born, like I say, from the music into the movies. And keeping in mind, when I did get on, it came by way of, Master P, No Limit, but the Bout It soundtrack, off a movie soundtrack, the leading song. So here again, my whole life been there. So a lot of just movies, Fridays with my grandfather, uncle, my step pops, and all that just laced me on old black exploitation and just extraordinary movies, Italian mafia movies. So I learned to, when I was younger, for my name to be Carleone now, when my step pop was trying to show me that, it was too mature for me. I wouldn't sit that long enough to get it. As well as a movie like Young Guns. I'm like, man, I don't want to see that. I ain't got time for it. But it became
Yeah.
the story of my life. The Last Outlaw, they made me
Yeah.
boss, and everything Carleone. I just flipped it on the black hand side. You know what I mean?
Okay. Okay. I
Yeah.
get it.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Hey, oh yeah, and we live too. Hey man, if I
Do,
Oh
can,
yeah.
give me a 2 minute break right quick and let's finish up.
do your thing.
Do your
All
thing,
right.
man.
Yes, sir. Be right back.
No doubt.
Yes, sir.
Man, that's cool. That's some shit I didn't know, bro. None of it.
No, man. Not me either.
That's some good. That's some good stuff, man. Like that's crazy.
Exclusive. We got career and legacy next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody who's watching, hello and how you doing tonight?
Yeah. What's up, party people?
We in
How
the
y'all doing?
place to be.
What's going on with y'all?
Man,
I hear somebody screaming
what the
outside.
fuck? What the fuck you doing?
Bro, I'm in the car, dude. Here's somebody yelling. I'm like, what's going on, bro?
Hey, I'm
Like,
look. I'm looking out the back window for you. See if I see somebody cross them lights. I ain't laughing. I'm fucking for real though. But no, stop looking.
bro.
Yeah, I'm back, my guy.
All right, we
Yes,
back
sir.
rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that brings us into career and legacy.
Wait,
Okay.
Looking back at my balls and my word, what's something about
Mm-hmm.
the
wait, this
album's
dude has a gun, yo.
creation that the fans might not know?
Um, for starters, that I either produced or co-produced. How you do that there for starters, and pretty much co-produced that record. Behind the scenes, and just kind of we'll learn later, man. If you adding the samples and the ideas and the wordplay, then that makes you a producer too. But I give a lot of credit, like 85% of credit, 100% credit as a man, as a brother to Nathan Happy Perez, you know what I mean? As well as Beats by the Pound doing about three or so of those records, alternative, my original, I turned in our original 14 songs, and we substituted 3 or 4 of those songs once we got the No Limit connection. But as the concentration camp, we always building our own solo thing. And a lot of effort, like Duff Row and Pac came around, everybody was working on their thing, but everybody contributed to his album. It was
Right.
like that for me when you hear a record like Better Than the Last Time, shouts out to Max Minnelli. That was really a record for him. And so when you listen to it back then, we was doing 4, 5 verses or whatever. You listen to a Too Short record, it's 10, 12 minutes. But I did a 4th verse on that song. I like that, what he did. And he just insinuated, hey, man, we want you on it too. So I ended up getting on it and making it official, putting it on the Bleed project and making it official, Max Minnelli really featuring the Youngbleed song. So I give him his credit. I give half his credit. And here again, shouts out to PC Log, everybody that contributed. But it's a lot of different cycles that took place in the making of that record. Some records almost was never birthed, like the day they made me boss. If I wouldn't have walked in the studio at the time and heard Happy kind of tinkering around on the keyboard, it's like, man, what is that? Oh man, I was looking for that mafia-based sound, to incorporate the accordion. I was like, man,
Right.
if you don't put some drums to that shit, man, put some drums to that and give me that record. And then, everybody waited, and that was like Christmas anthem. When I finished doing that record, everybody played that over and over before it even birthed, left the camp, and to get to No Limit and eventually Priority. So stuff like that, Offer You Can't Refuse. It was really more bars on the record. But we lost something between the DATs and the ADAT, and we cut the record short. And it was really aimed to be the intro to that record. That's why it was a short song, just to give you, the recipe of how it was coming, Black Mafia life in that sense of the word. But we were searching
Right.
to find that sound, you know what I mean? So we all watched those movies. We watched Young Guns one night, and pitched out a few things that really let Happy analyze it himself, and he came back with all those phenomenal samples that make that a cinematic record. So yeah, it was more threaded at the time. We had a home base, so we spent the night with each other from mama's houses to across the river with Max Minnelli and them moms and different things, rest in peace. So we was more family oriented, and we did a whole lot of construction for us life building, and to formulate that camp. And everybody, like I say, had their own thing. We'll go out to do, have phenomenal solo careers to this day. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy, man.
Yes, sir.
Speaking on that same subject, man.
Mm-hmm.
I never saw him again. And again, shout out to Max Manila, man.
Yes, indeed.
Who exactly is he? Because at
Max,
once upon a time I thought he was Boosie, being from somewhere
right.
else.
Right. In the same kind of men, Boosie, blood family somewhere down the line, on his big cousins and all that I've been running together with since 4 years old. Same head start. But Max was like my baby street brother. I met Max Minnelli about 11 years old. He was from across the Mississippi River Bridge, like the west side of Louisiana, for his Irwinville, this small country town, real rural. But he had some big cousins that I grew up with and went to school with, and they told me about him. So every day when he'd come home from school, we had a phone relationship between 11 and 13. So by the time I didn't see him in the flesh till he was 13 years old, he'd come visit some of his family in Baton Rouge, and my homies took me to see him. And we've been that way ever since. It was a group. Well, he was doing his thing, and he eventually introduced me to a partner that lived like a field apart on the same block by the name of Jay Vaughn. And I think Happy Perez went to high school with them, being originally from H-Town, but was living in Louisiana. So they was high school buddies, and they formed a group called Laylo. So I eventually introduced them to C-Lo Records, and as we started to morph and grow past me, Lee Time, and C-Lo, far as the artists of C-Lo Records, we started to have more MCs and DJs and different things like that. So I formulated a name, with the concentration camp to give us all a home or a roof for the house. You know what I mean? Kind of like any mob fashion, any kind of soldier fashion. You know what I mean?
Right.
And clicolation, more or less, the word I'm looking for. So that's where Max come from. He had his solo thing as a child, and he was, going here and there for what I know before he met me. But when his cousins told him, hey, bro, it's a guy over here, man, that we know been recording since little. You need to meet him. We met each other and have been that way ever since. Yeah.
Man, that's crazy. Well, now I know him.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir.
All right, that brings us to 7.
Hmm.
You've worked with legends in the game.
Yeah,
Who surprised you in the studio the most, whether with their process or their energy?
SIBO. And I'm
Ooh,
impressed by a
really
lot of
see.
other folks before as hand in glove, got down with me, come from California, lived in Texas with me and different places. And we're sitting articulating records together. He could work the Pro Tools, different things like that. Me and Bo would be in the studio, just me and him and some kush. You see what I'm saying? Everything we need. And I didn't know he could engineer like that. We didn't have to find an
Right,
engineer. We just needed a spot. And the guys, from OGs in Texas to wherever, if they knew we was coming together, they'd just give us the key. And we'd just
right,
go in there and bang out. You know what I mean? We'll hang out later, but we'll go bang, get up
right.
every morning like a school bus, and we going hit the car washes, hit the Martin Luther King's, Malcolm X Boulevard, and post up for a while. And we finna grab something to eat, go to the weed man, get us something to smoke, and we go and lab out, man. So his work ethic was incredible. He always been one of my favorites long before I would know him. So I could, the list goes on and on, but that rock with me the closest and the toughest. It kept some food on my plate when I was struggling in the game. Much love to Big Bro for that for life. You know what I mean? West Coast Mob, man. Yes, sir.
100, 100, 100. Shout out to Sebo, man. I grew up on Till My Casket Dropped.
Oh man, please believe it. You got to go back to Gas Chamber to get started with him, man.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
For sure. All right. Yeah,
So,
man. Brunson kind of popped off, man. He said somebody started shooting around him.
oh wow, it happened. It was out the way I'm living at night. Yeah, we had a little action. Young boys get to letting off. That took place. Folks didn't already come through, but yeah, I'm
You know
still
how it
half
goes.
slash, in my city. You know what I mean? I lived in 41 states, but I'm back home, not too far from mom. I try to stay around family. But yeah,
Hey,
from the hood to the suburbs or the mid suburb, we used to call it rich, middle class, and poor, but now it's rich or poor situation, and you still got all this crazy shit. You know what I mean? That's taking place, and these youngsters they just started all over again times 10, man.
man,
Yeah.
you know it. That shit, man, that's a
Mhm.
whole nother story right there.
Yes, sir.
All right. You came up in an era of physical albums, but now
Yeah.
music is all digital.
Yeah.
How do you feel about how the industry has changed?
Well, it's an ever changing world, it's an ever changing industry. And keeping in mind, when I was a kid, I remember the 8-track tape. You know what I'm saying? So I've been watching music change since a baby, from 45s to 33 records. My granddaddy he went blind eventually in life, so he had like a Braille tape player and all that kind of shit. The records and the little coffin shit your grandma and them had, where you had to open the top of the shit and put the record down in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So it always been ever changing. Far as the monetary side of it, I don't like the fact that you look at a movie like Ray Charles, and Ray them fought so much they get at least $1 a record. So when you saying physical copies, I mean, all I gotta do is sell 1 million records. That's like at $1 a piece, you'll have $1 million. But it's like once we figure out the system and become millionaires based off the old system, and just like the dope game, rock for rock, then they change the game on us again. So to go back to less than a penny for a record, streaming and all this kind of shit, you know what I mean? I
yeah,
don't, like that portion of it, but music gonna always evolve, power to the people, by the people. It's about getting the message out and that type of thing. So I continue for that matter. But some of the OGs, they don't even want to do records no more because they robbing us in that sense of the word. Um, King T would say this years ago: buy the record because the studio costs, man. Before we had home studios, the few guys that was reluctant to have a home studio, if in your neighborhood or somewhere in the city. So the game done evolved so much, you know what I mean? So it's just like riding a surfboard. We just trying to stay on the board and don't get wiped out. You hear?
straight up, straight up.
Yeah, man.
That's wow, shit, man.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh, if you could assemble a dream collaboration, any artist, any era, who would it be on the track with you?
Oh man, my favorite of all time, and I say this all the time, always been Rakim for his lyricism. cool persona. LL was one of my favorites as well as, all the greats. But I used to, wake up to the doo-wop or, I need a beat or whatever on Saturdays. Couldn't wait till my pops was going to work to crank his studio, his stereo all the way up, grab me a brush and emulate LL in the mirror. But screaming, and I learned this from Mystical later in life. Mystical get off stage and, hey,
Oh
and if you're
yeah.
doing sharp tonight, you would tear all your damn vocal cords up. So I learned from a cat like Rock to just stay yourself, monotone, and speak and let that microphone be your amplifier. So Rob became and still on his path since shit, I want to say 86 or something. You see what I'm saying? So to
Right.
see that, and guys like Too Short that stick to the script, they same style, don't do nothing you can change. Yeah, I admire that the most, man. So yeah, it's a lot of ways. Like, I have a problem doing the top 5 favorite rappers. I have to go on. I tell people it's like NBA Live or 2K or something. When you can pick a 50s team, then the 60s team, you can't
Yeah.
just compare the 50s to 2025. You know what I mean? You have to put them in those eras because the game, all the rules and all that shit changed. They wasn't playing by the same rules and had the same advantages as the new school. You see what I'm saying? So I try to bridge that gap between new and old school. So it's hard to even Voltron assemble that, if I could say it like that, man. Because it's eras for me. I have to think back to who in the 70s was my favorites. You know what I mean? Then the 80s and so on and so forth. But I'm trying to pick and put a pile together, man. I have to say guys like, Tupac, the DOC, Scarface, Rakim, Cool G Rap. It just, when I get to saying that, I'll be all day with you. Ice Cube, Easy E. And
Yeah.
even though Easy E
Yeah.
started the rap, yeah, man, it's too much greatness and levels of greatness to put this in a box, man. It's infinite.
Yeah. I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel that.
On to that next one. So man, this is a good one right here. So
Mm-hmm.
your music has always had this raw honesty. I think that's what makes music good when you can relate to it
Huh.
because it's this raw
Yes, sir.
honesty. So let me ask you, was there ever a song that was hard for you to write or put out because it was too personal?
Recently, man, I just did a compilation for my label Trapdoor Entertainment called Welcome to the Trap. It's like
Mm,
19 joints on there. I forget what number it is, but it's a song called Hello on there. And that's
mm,
about one of my cousins that were murdered out here. I ran with like a puppy dog since I was a little boy. He was more a big brother to me than a cousin. I
yeah.
learned a lot of shit from elementary school up. And he was a gun toter and all that, from shooting guns to getting pussy. He was that type of cousin
Yeah.
to me. And
Yeah.
getting money.
Yeah.
Yeah, ride or die. And unfortunately, he lost his life. I'm 50 years old now, on my way to 51. He died out here about 29 years old. Single shot murder,
Mm,
lived in a week, in a hospital like Pac and passed away. So I always wanted to do that song, but I break up every time I listen to we redid it from the old 70s soul and R&B group Brick. The same people Ice Cube sampled that No Vaseline sample from that Daz
Hmm.
Band song. But they
Yeah.
had
yeah.
another record called Hello. So I took the Hello and flipped it, and it took me, I forget how many years now. It's over 20 years, and my cousin have been, his demise. So I was able
Yeah.
to finally put that record out the top of this year. You see what I'm saying? I might have recorded a couple of years back, but I couldn't get through writing that song without tearing up and breaking down.
Yeah.
So now,
Yeah.
again, let alone trying to project it. You see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
finally, and the whole family loving and commending me for that. From his mama down, they whole family, man. So much love and respect. Yes, sir. Freddie Glass, but rest in
So
peace, man.
That's
Yes,
what's
sir.
up.
rest in peace for sure.
Mm,
For sure, for sure.
appreciate it. Yeah, man.
So now that brings us to culture and influence.
Some good ones right here.
Huh.
What's the one piece of Baton Rouge culture that you feel hasn't gotten enough recognition in hip hop?
Hmm. Well, lately we getting it. You know what I mean? Shouts out to another baby cuz NBA young boy. He was the number one rapper a second ago across the country, not by coastal. So that's family too on my first baby mama and my kids. You see what I'm saying? my first two kids. That's all that real family. A lot of my homeboys. That's his family.
Mm,
Um, so I watched that grow from. My guys used to tell me as a kid, say, bro, you got to go to New York, man. Because, I had a cousin used to go to New York and get tapes. Rest in peace to Mr. Magic, you know what I mean? Shouts out to Marley Marl at the radio station and record that Kiss FM, while he would visit New York for the summers. So I had an advanced skill because I had records that they didn't have down here, when I was still in elementary school. But so me rapping, I used to freestyle battle 3 guys at a time. I never lost a battle since a kid up. So, but my guys used to say, man, you got to go to New York, man, for to really get home. But my evolution would take place into the West Coast. But saying that to sum that up, man, to see where it's at now, I remember when it wasn't like that. A few
yeah,
old school guys and everybody was trying to brand for us Baton Rouge. But now you know NBA Youngboy. Now you know Boosie. Now you know Kevin Gates. Now you know Webby. You see what I'm saying? And the
yeah,
list goes on and on. So we finally getting it. So any form of it, and there's so many other guys, you know what I mean? The neighborhood and all that kind of shit. We got the beefs and the quarrels just back and forth. I'm hoping for the unity here, like New York eventually had to morph into California to some degree, Atlanta, Houston. But that part of it, of just getting it, everybody kind of sectioned off. But
yeah,
with me being a hip hop connoisseur, I watched all that change, and God bless the game for all of us. So I'm watching that
yeah,
slowly but surely morph here. So yeah, I want to say we getting it slowly but surely, but it's unity in the community, man. If we could put our heads together, I've been saying this, and this from anybody in the whole South, 11 states listening. The East Coast got self-destruction. The West Coast got we all in the same gang, and that effort. We need one for the South, y'all been saying that, but ain't nobody else coming to the plate and saying that, and I'm gonna say that. So I'm open to it. We could do something to help build, save some of these kids' lives and keep passing this hip hop torch on. I'm with that. Holla back. That part.
yeah. No, for
Yes,
sure,
That's
sir.
up.
for
Hell
sure.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
You still there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, on my end is I couldn't hear him on my end.
Okay. Yeah,
I got
man.
the next question. So man, who are some newer Louisiana artists that you think are keeping the essence of real storytelling alive?
Um, Guys like Main Music, Fredo Bang, them type of guys. I want to say Scotty Kane. It's so many now, man. It's like Texas is its own thing. It's so big. New York is its own thing. California, that's happening here, and that's from the bottom of Louisiana, New Orleans up,
Like
man.
how you
It's
say, yeah,
infinite. It's so crazy. And I remember my parents telling me, young man, this rap thing gonna be a fad, and it's still lasting. So here again, it's blowing and mind altering to see what you think, okay, I'm gonna get to a point, maybe I'll retire, however. The kids pick that up and from the babies up and run with it. So that's just some of the names off here when I come back home in and out of state and see what's happening here. So they keeping their own torch alive. You go in the club here, you might not hear Jay-Z record. You see what I'm saying? But you're gonna hear everything cracking in Baton Rouge. That we got our own thing. It's called Jigger City, the jig dance, Fox, and you know what I mean? So here again, an infinite list. And I learned that every city, country, town, everybody got their own thing across the country, and definitely here.
Right, right.
right on.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, 13, you kind of answered it. So I'm gonna rephrase this question
Yo,
again. I'm gonna rephrase this one. So in
okay.
how do you see Baton Rouge hip hop evolving? Do you see it? Do you see that Trill fam? Uh, do you see that era coming back around again? Because they
Yeah,
ran
it's
they
here. I
ran it for
believe.
a while.
Yeah, I believe if we can come to a peace term with everything that's happening streetwise and otherwise, we could do it. Just like I say, in a self-destructive kind of way. Being the spokespersons and the leaders now, you see what I'm saying? We're not the little struggling kids waiting to get on now. The world is on us. And everybody don't know that and don't know the potential of the power. But if we could sit down like men and get around the table, yeah, we could do some things. I really believe in that. I live to do that. I'm one of the last to try to redo it. So I'm hoping and crossing my fingers and keeping my prayer hands together. That's my life dream. So I wait to see that. I used to pray over the East Side basketball courts and write letters to God over the LSU
Wow.
lakes that hip hop come here. I wanted to share what I felt as a child with everybody. As a ghost
Wow.
right for my homeboy to try to save my the street young. So now I don't have to do all that. It's happening itself. So I commend and salute all the guys that come from my section and intersection in the world for that matter. But I live to see that day, man. I'm waiting for
Man, that's real, man. I feel like that leads right into this next question, man.
it.
What is the biggest the big question? What's the biggest lesson that the industry has taught you that you wish you knew earlier in your career? And this is for other up and coming artists who may be watching. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, what's something you learned earlier in your career that you think really helps you?
um, First of all, to stay prayed up, to be blessed and protected for all the evils and all that type of thing that come with the industry. See, people forget this. The devil ran the music in the heavens. So it's enough you know that.
Yep.
Like G.I. Joe used to say, knowing is half the battle. It is no surprise what was taking place in the industry. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So God first, I always say that, and I always kept that with me. You can look at my album cover. That's my mother's real Bible, so on and so forth. So whatever I do, I always keep God. But second to that, I answered that so many years ago with the day they made me boss. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? I was just as well as anybody else. I didn't want the responsibility of a record company, yet I told my papa one day I would own one. I didn't know all the stipulations and what would come with it, but I knew I wanted to make records, and if that's what it took to put my records out. So I had to learn from a lot of bosses, you know what I mean? P, the Logan, the bosses at Priority Record.
Yeah.
And I come from the tape game, selling tapes on the corner independently. So I knew how to hustle and sell it before the stipulations, copyrights, publishing points, and all that. I had to learn that part. So what I say to anybody up and coming, learn this business and master your craft. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? When I first come in the game, they schooled me like this. Bleed, this is only 10% talent and 90% business. So I used to
Mm.
argue that fact, for starving artists. I mean, that's how much respect y'all got for the talent. No, that's not what we saying. See, if y'all didn't have a phone right now, didn't have a phone and all this social media, we talking social media. We was talking physical back in the day. So imagine how much it costs to put out 1 million posters, not just
Yeah.
in your town, all around the country to print up
Yeah.
vinyl records, tapes, and
Wow.
CDs. That's the
Wow.
business.
Wow.
Without no money behind the machine, you can have a beautiful motorboat, gentlemen. But if you you ain't got a paddle, you ain't got a motor, fan behind it, you're up shit creek
Oh
without no
shit,
paddle,
creep.
man. So learn this
Yeah.
business, man. Yes, sir.
That's some real. That's
Shit.
a gem right there. No,
That's
for
some
real.
real
No,
shit.
for real.
Yes, sir. Learn
But
the
yeah,
business, my brother. Yes, indeed.
Oh shit,
Absolutely.
creep without a pedal.
Mm.
All right.
Yeah.
This one is once again. This one can answer some youngsters also.
yeah.
If you could go back and talk to Youngbleed in 1997, what advice would you give him?
Pretty much just what I said, and I got the game from the game. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When we talking Superfly, I was the little child running wild, Like I joke about this. You look at one of the Tupac interviews, you say, man, it's like I had 3 minutes of peace when he was born and it been on ever since. Well, for me, in no comparison, rest in peace to the God, man, one of the greatest to do it. And I'm a
Yeah.
Gemini, so I love and respect Pac, and I'm connected with Pac family and so on and so forth, from the rappers to the Panthers. Shouts out to my uncle, and I call uncle my big cousin Sherman Fred in Chicago. I'm a Panther Cub to this day, so power to the Panther and the people. So I'm
Yeah.
all about that. But I have to say this: my mother had a complicated pregnancy, and she almost died at birth. You see
Oh
what I'm saying?
wow.
I just did a record called Epic Proportion that's available on the internet. It's about 27 thousand or so views in the last couple of months. It's new. Shouts out to my man Mill Vibes out there in Switzerland. Is a Switzerland producer partner of mine. and we just pitched the record out there, and people loving it because it's such a real bass record. But I described how my mama didn't have the abortion. My mama, excuse me, told the doctors, I didn't live long enough, they say either you gonna live or the baby gonna live. Make a
Wow.
choice. And she was like, "Well, you lived a long enough life. Make sure my baby get here." My mother was 17 years old, and I'm blessed to still have her with us to this day. So I
Wow.
didn't get
That's
them
love.
3 minutes. You know what I'm saying? I
And
almost
I
wasn't
met
here, and it been on like that. Yeah,
and I
yeah,
met
man. Yes,
Man,
sir.
that leads
Yes,
to, man, first off, that's a compelling story. I feel like when people have those moments where they're chosen and they have favor, it's like you're meant to do this. And so that kind of leads to the next question,
hey,
like what's next for Young Bleed, man? Any new music projects or plans that your fans should look out for? Like what's next, bro?
definitely. I'm working on 30 albums right now at the time. I just mentioned these 200 cities to y'all. I have the label. It's maybe about 20 or something artists on the label. So we
Yeah.
all pumping it from different cities and states. You know what I mean? Um, I got a hemp aid, a weed based drink called Seaweed. Man, shouts out to my man L.A. Dave out of Los Angeles to Mississippi that we just put out. It's called Seaweed here again. I got a vodka, man. That's called Speak Easy. I'm gonna put on the market.
Oh, for
You know what I mean?
sure.
Let me do this right.
okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah, yeah.
Let me know when
different
they
hat.
let me know when they come.
No, for sure. Let us
Okay, well
know
you
when
can
when
order
they
them for me
dropping.
right now. Okay,
Bet.
look, right now I'm bootleg with it, man. So if you can catch me in a city near you, I'll pop the trunk for you.
I
You know
got
what I'm saying? But we
Nah,
finna get it
for
in these
sure.
stores, bro.
I got you.
Yeah, we working on it, the paperwork and all that to put it in the stores, hopefully for the years out. But
Yeah.
that's available. I got a book that's on Amazon.com that I did when I did the Preserved album with Strange Music and Tech Nine, those guys called the Making of Preserve.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get so many things. Shouts out you see behind me, banging 832 radio. I'm a co-host, man, every Tuesday and Thursday night in Houston in H Town. So shouts out to the whole banging 832 family in Houston. So I do a
Dope.
plethora of things, man. So you can't miss me unless you're just not looking, man. That part.
For sure.
We're in business for real.
For
Yeah.
sure,
Yes, sir.
man.
Look, so you're getting the next thing. Give me the 2 minute break again. I'll be right back.
100.
For
Go
sure.
ahead.
All right, yes, sir.
All right. This was a good interview, man.
Nah, great interview, man. Sorry for the technical difficulties, y'all. It's just on the fly.
Hey, yeah, I know. Look,
I
I had to
was
say that. I had to say that too.
I was sitting in the car and yeah, man, some guy started shooting. So yeah, I saw an altercation in front of my eyes.
Dang,
Charged
that's
this girl,
crazy. And I was just
literally
sitting up.
shot in the air. Then he charged this girl and held the gun to her, and then went back to his car. And so I waited, and then went straight into the house. So
And I was just playing.
you said what?
I was just playing. I ain't know that was actually.
Oh, that's what you said. You said he got shot at or something. Like you was playing.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm just trying to make sure the guy behind you ain't doing nothing crazy. But
No, he was, bro. He was yelling. That's who you heard yelling.
I
He
didn't
was
hear
yelling.
nobody yelling.
Oh, well, I heard someone yelling, and that's why I kept looking back. And so, yeah, he definitely was crazy. But God is good. I'm here.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
blessed.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. We got you back.
We
I'm
good.
back for the record too, fellas. Just that seaweed, man.
Oh yes,
You know what I
Right,
sir.
right.
mean? You can order this as well, bro. You go to cashmerefarms.com. I got my own drink. Shouts out to Daz Dillinger from the Dog Pound. He got one called Razzle Dazzle. We working on one for Sibo. My man Smoke D from UGK Records and out of Mississippi got one called Poker Silk. So
Yeah,
we building, man. Yeah, yeah, all the
no,
way
for
LA to
sure.
LA, man. Baby LA, baby. Yes, sir.
Straight
Nah,
up.
for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations on
Man,
that,
so that
man.
leads us, man, to this, this,
Yes.
this. Or was that you, Joseph? You had the next question.
No, this next question is on you.
So, man,
Wait,
what,
wait, wait,
what?
wait. Yeah, 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 yeah. That's on you.
Yeah, man. So, when it's all said and done, Youngbleed,
Hmm.
man. You didn't done a lot. You've seen a lot. There's still
Yeah,
more
man.
for you to do. But when it's all said and done, what do you want your
Hmm.
legacy in hip hop to be? What do you want to be left behind? What do you want people to have said about you and about the impact that you had on this culture?
Um, for starters, I say what they said about Huey P. Newton when they asked him that question, how he wanted to be remembered. He well, first of all, I don't want to be remembered. In order to be remembered, you have to be dismembered. But
Wow.
he say, but if I want you to know anything about me, I was loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Be loved.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? But on top of that, man, I got grandkids now, man. Actually, working on a group with my first three grandkids called the
Wow.
Goonies. So to see that all over again, just to see somebody, what we saying, Baton Rouge pass the baton, pick up where I left off, or like we're saying on my own record, pick up the journal where the other boy left off, and
Yeah.
keep my uncle told me before he died, rest in peace, James Donald Johnson Jr.
Rest in
He say,
peace.
no, keep it live, man. Yeah, keep it
Yeah.
live. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
No, I love that, man. That's yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
sir.
On you,
Absolutely.
Joseph. Close it out, man.
Well, I think we skipped one.
Oh, did we?
Mm,
Yeah, he answered most of it, but minus the 200 city tours, what
yeah.
do you have? What new music, what projects or plans
Yes.
fans should look out for?
Okay, right now, like I said, if you're not up on the Welcome to the Trap project, it's a 19 song compilation that features the artists on the label. It's and not to my own horn. When you listen to it, you're gonna know what it is. Shouts out to 187, from Above the Law. Rest in peace, KMG and Laylaw, man. Shouts out to Gomat. But
Yeah.
187, him and his cousin Cocaine is good friends of mine in LA. But I got their blessings for us, the G Funk, and I was able to redo Still Talking Shit, from Easy E. That's the first song I call Welcome to the Trap, but that's 187 on the hook. They just wrapped up. He just shot his part for me out there in LA. So the video coming within a month. For starters, um, it's a single I just did, right around Mardi Gras time called Saturday Night. Shouts out to Fiend, my brother from No Limit.
Yeah.
So y'all check that out. All this is on the internet right now. All social media platforms, definitely YouTube. The Epic Proportions again. What else I just released? I got a record that's following this compilation called Return of the Dawn. So Epic Proportion is a song snatched from it. And I just did another single called Last of the Rap Mafia Dons that's available right now everywhere. And on the 14th, we dropping another single off that Return of the Dawn called Loyalty. Shouts out to my guys Crisis, Adam Scales and those guys that help put that together. And my cousin Brent Dixon for that matter for Divided Sound, Sean Griffin. So it's a plethora of artists and producers alike, man. And this by Coastal. We just did a song called Believe by my man Adam Scales that I featured on, man, that he is in Nigeria, Africa. So worldwide, man, yeah, we dropping heaters. We gonna continue to drop a few singles a month. And it's enough we could drop an album a month, but we don't want to overload the people. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So just stay tuned from that point on. Get ready for the return of the dawn. And yeah, it wasn't something I said. I'm just trying not to give you the whole list. But for starters, shouts out to my man in Kansas City, Mo,
Yeah.
Max Emil. We got a single called Reckless that's out. Now, all these are phenomenal records. And what I'm missing on getting ready to go into Atlanta about a week. Shouts out, you know about the Beehive Show, my man Wicked on Beehive Show. We just wrapped up a phenomenal record with Kane from the Yin Yang Twins and Lit Pete that's called Side to Side. We're getting ready to shoot the video for that in about a week or so. So yeah, we all over the place putting it in their face, man. So stay tuned. You hear?
For sure. Man, it's about that time. Hey, Joseph, let's close it
Yes,
up,
sir.
man.
All right, last one, man.
Mm,
If this was your last interview you ever did,
yeah.
what would you leave on the table for your fans, grandkids, kids, and all?
I say it again a different way. My life, my love, and my legacy, my brothers. That part.
Nice,
Man,
nice.
Yes, sir.
man, this has been for all the people watching. Y'all gotta soak up all this knowledge and history
Yes,
and
sir.
this respect for the OGs because this knowledge like this don't come often.
No,
Uh,
you only get it from the horse's mouth.
you're not you're getting
Directly.
it from the source, directly from the source. You're not, this
Yeah,
ain't
yeah,
no
look.
directly.
I'm old school. Bumper Johnson, man. We cut out the middleman. I want to buy direct from the supplier, man. Yeah.
Yeah,
You know it.
Yes,
You
sir.
know it.
oh man, for
Indeed.
sure.
Well, look, OG, you know it, man. Anytime I talk to you, I see you, man. You already know what it is.
Nothing but love, my brother.
You know
Always.
it.
Same to you, my brother. We
You
gonna
know
keep
it,
it in the
man.
family, man. I'm gonna keep y'all posting and whatever you need by me, feel free, bro. I'm on deck.
For
Absolutely,
sure.
man. We'll talk to you
Yes,
soon.
sir.
Thank you.
Okay, much love, peace, and blessings to y'all, brothers.
All right, man. Tell mama, hey.
Okay, I will, definitely.
All right.
All right. Yes, sir.